they finally got their proof that the right is fascist. All of a sudden, they're free speech maximalists, don't mind COVID. They're back to being free speech maximalists, and they should be able to call for violence, according to them.
As I said, Mark, I want to go a little bit further into this. We got a clip of Stephen Miller the other night on Hannity. It comes a little bit towards the end, but I want to play the full clip for context. And he talks about going out, getting the people, and then finding the crimes. Take a listen.
They become the equivalent of madrasas for jihadism. There is a domestic terrorism movement in this country. When you see these organized doxing campaigns, where the left calls people enemies of the republic, calls them fascists, says they're Nazis, says they're evil, says they have to be removed, and then prints their addresses, what do you think they're trying to do? They are trying to inspire someone to murder them. That is their objective. That is their intent. And when you see online, Sean, as we've seen for the last few days, tape after tape after tape of federal workers, bureaucrats, staffers in the Pentagon, educators, professors, healthcare workers, nurses, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. These are radicalized people. There is a domestic terrorism movement in this country. And let me tell you something I'd not share with anybody, but the last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us. And we are going to do that under President Trump's leadership. I don't care how. It could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States, insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence. It has to stop. And my message is to all of the domestic terrorists in this country spreading this evil hate, you want us to live in fear? We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile, because the power of law enforcement under President Trump's leadership will be used to find you, will be used to take away your money, take away your power, and if you've broken the law, to take away your freedom, Sean.
So I agree with almost everything he said, except at the end there, when he says, we're going to find you, we're going to take everything away, and then we're going to find the crime you committed. This is what was done to January 6ers, Mark. This is what was done to Donald Trumpers. And you look at the divisiveness it's caused in this country. I want every single one of these people in jail. I want them all locked up as scumbags. I want them all locked away who committed crimes. But you can't just go out there and round people up, throw them in jail, and then say, all right, you're charged with this a week later. That's what they did to January 6ers. It's like it puts us between a rock and a hard place here, Mark. What do you think?
I think there's no easy answers, and the temperature of this country is rising very rapidly. And I'll step back and say we got Charlie Kirk polling back. It just came back today. And oftentimes we poll on how concerned are you about issue X or issue Y, and it's things like violent crime and inflation. Our previous recent record holder was inflation, but we just got the number one record holder, the highest concern, and it's political violence in America. 69% very concerned, 21% somewhat. So that's 90. Never seen a 90 before. And it's equally Republicans and Democrats. In fact, Democrats are more very concerned by almost 10 points. And they think these killings are going to happen again. They think in the next few months, 86% of them think it's likely there's going to be another execution. So here's the thing, is that neither side, the left is not going to de-escalate. They are not. And I can tell you that this is not the majority of Democrats. Only 28% of Democrats thought that burning down Teslas was a valid form of protest. Only 34% of Democrats said that the killing of the CEO by Luigi Mangione was understandable. And I think we'll probably get a 20 or 30% of Democrats who say that Charlie Kirk had it coming when we get numbers back on Friday. So it's not all of them, but it is all of their leaders, their power structure, their donors, and the media. And so they're not de-escalating. They're actually doubling down because they want this. They finally got their proof that the right is fascist. All of a sudden, they're free speech maximalists. Don't mind COVID. They're back to being free speech maximalists. And they should be able to call for violence, according to them. Now, the right is going to figure out whether it de-escalates or not, and I don't think so. Now it's a question about whether the government does. In this situation, the Democrats would have ruled with an iron fist, stuffed reform and change down America's throats. And Mike Johnson's like holding prayer vigils. And so I don't know like what's going to happen, but I think Americans are going to demand action. And that might mean playing fast and loose with the rules. Does it necessarily mean denying people of their constitutional rights? I don't know. It might just mean pushing the definition of laws. But these people are overt. They're out there. They're radicalizing people, and the problem's only getting worse. And there are absolutely 100% foreign influence and money being allocated. You know, you have, I don't know all the details. I don't want to be specific about it, but Data Republican pointed out that the Salt Lake City Armed Queers, the group that has been accused of being involved in this, I don't know if they were or not. They went dark the day of the assassination. They're out there with very violent rhetoric about arming up queers in order to do this kind of thing. It's been alleged that they have been tied to the World Economic Forum. There might be a tie to USAID money. And so I think all of those things, and to the CCP, I forget what it was, but we should understand that. And the fact that we don't already, like the FBI should have reprioritized the domestic terrorist threats. And this assassination of Charlie Kirk should have been preventable with the $11 billion we spent on the FBI.
And it doesn't make it much easier, Mark, when you've got Barack Hussein Obama, who was the divider in chief. He was the one who brought forth all race divide in this country. There's no debate about that. He was the one who came forward, speaking at an event just yesterday, saying, of course, it was horrific and tragic what happened to Charlie. But then he, of course, goes on with the divide. Those extreme views were not in my White House. I was empowering them. I was putting the weight of the United States government behind them. When we have the weight of the United States government behind extreme views, we've got a problem. He says he wasn't empowering them, I should say. I mean, this man has been divider in chief, still sits on the sidelines now to come back and to divide more Americans like he hasn't done enough, except I think a lot more people have woken up since his reign of power.
I think he was more influential than we all probably assume in setting up the global homo clown world Marxist situation that we're in. And I also think that he's less politically influential than he wants to be right now. And I think he's going to be stuck in that paradox. Remember in the campaign, he went out and had the horrible optics of sitting down in the black barbershop and everybody laughed at him and nobody cared about what he said at all about Kamala Harris. But it's like, I suspect a lot of these funding schemes were set up under his watch with the Hillary Clinton State Department. I think the State Department acts as basically a facilitator between the CIA and all of the different operations. Then we have the Victoria Nuland stuff that's tied to Ukraine that probably has ties to Israel and all this other. I think there's a Zionist aspect to that. I don't know. I'm just saying. And then let's not forget that under his watch, I'm pretty sure we had the Smith Modernization Act, which many people allege is part of the problem that we find ourselves in. So he may be in some ways the architect of this situation. And let us not forget that he trained under Marxist accelerationists and his mentor was a member of the Weather Underground. So that's what happens when you elect somebody like that, as many people warned at the time. And now we're reaping what we sowed, I guess.
I want to bring about something that just came across just now. House Oversight Chairman has summoned the executives of Twitch, Discord, and other stream services to testify before his committee, I guess, to get a grapple on what's going on. This is exactly a week to the day. Comer, as I constantly laud him on this Great America show, is, I think, one of the few good guys in Congress who wants to bring justice and these scumbags to their knees.
I love it. I've been hitting Reddit really hard over the last couple of days. It feels good. Again, shutting down the largest Trump community on the internet.
Yeah.
The main reason, one of the main reasons I think Donald Trump won, and then to be this on-ramp of degeneracy. I'm really afraid for my kids because you literally can't be a teenager without being exposed to this stuff. And let me tell you, like, if you're into like one-legged purple dwarfs doing not safe for work stuff, like there is a community on Reddit for that kind of stuff. There's literally everything. And so that's why these kids are having a hard time. They're being permanently online, playing video games all day, spending their time talking on Reddit, and they're becoming very nihilistic. They have nothing to live for, and this is how they're filling the hole in their hearts. Church, the education, the public education system, well-adjusted adults, strong communities, an academia that challenge their mental abilities. All of these things were taken from them, and they're filling it with basically whatever Tencent wants to put in front of their faces or whatever intelligence assets. And again, let's remember that it's been alleged by many that Ghislaine Maxwell was one of the anonymous moderators of the second biggest political subreddit, one that is overwhelmingly Marxist.
Really?
Why is that? How does that happen?
I never heard
There is a moderator name with the word Maxwell in the title. They share the same birthday, and the account stopped posting the day she went to jail. And why is somebody like that, Epstein's accomplice, literally logging in every day, reviewing people's posts, banning people, boosting certain messages, all to enforce the global communist, socialist, progressive agenda? Why does that happen? How does that happen? Who else is there? It could be the KGB. It could be the CCP. Over and over again, we do not have control over a society. It's lousy with foreign influence, people who have no intention of assimilating, people who are literally sucking our social safety nets dry, and it's not going to survive much longer. And so things are, I think, rapidly coming to their inevitable messy conclusion.